If you have seen this in the new cinematic, you might have entirely missed the context. This is exactly how the Void Lord Dimensius had destroyed the planet Kalesh in the ancient past by bathing it in void energies, and the new information reveals that Xal'atath is the harbinger of this exact same Void Lord, which means we can predict what is going to happen to Azeroth in the near future, and it looks like we are actually going to lose for the first time ever in WoW. This is exactly what Sargeras tried to prevent, and we stopped him, so now we will have to do what the Legion never managed to accomplish. It seems like the entire Sword of Sargeras ordeal was a message to the Titans, not us, that there is no other way to contain the Void, as we learn that it was the sword that turned the Beledar Crystal into the Void, helping Xal'atath and her plans significantly. I'm not going to get crazy into conspiracy theories and speculation here, I'll just lay out all the new information so you can decide for yourself. So you want to start programming, but you find it completely overwhelming? Well, Boot.dev is the perfect solution. It is like an RPG game where you can actually learn hard skills that you can turn into an actual career. It is designed to get you running a ton of code right now and to develop hands-on experience, but it is all built like an RPG. You will learn back-end web development from start to finish in Python and Go programming languages. You got XP levels, achievements, quests, and a leaderboard. Additionally, there is even an active Discord community so they can help you solve all the issues if you get stuck. Now, they understand that not everyone can pay right now, so all the content is actually free to watch and read. In guest mode, you only unlock the interactivity with the paid subscription. However, they're so confident you will love it that they're offering a 30-day no questions asked refund policy. So click the link in the description and use my code DoransMovies and you will get 25% off your first subscription. That's the first month or first year, depending on the subscription you choose. Check out boot.dev. So let's just get straight into the info, as there is so much to cover here, but at this point we essentially know what Xal'atath is. We haven't seen her true form, but we have a ton of information I'm going to lay out so you can decide for yourself. By pretty much all the accounts we have gotten so far, she is essentially what appears to be the Silver Surfer of Warcraft, a weapon of the Void that is pooled to convert planets, and it seems like she has already done this before. Azeroth is not the first planet she did this to, and she had successfully destroyed at least one. I'm not going to get into a 10-minute rant on what she could possibly be. I'll lay out all the info so you can just decide for yourself based on the available information. Brand new dialogue from the beta from just a few days ago, so I'm talking brand new, confirms that she is not an old god, even though we've actually known this for a while. Alleria says she isn't an old god and that she's a survivor from the depths of time. This confirmation essentially perfectly aligns with everything else we had learned. The other bit of information is a few months old, but is completely relevant and ties in perfectly. We got dialogue from the Ethereals that mentioned that just before the planet Kalesh was destroyed, it started giving the same radiant song that Azeroth is giving right now, but it was too late for them to understand. Then we got the Void guy, Locust Walker, that is essentially an Ethereal as well, says that he knows Xal'atath, but he doesn't reveal what she is. However, we got other hints that confirm this and how Xal'atath is really connected to everything. So, we got this Orc Hermit guy right next to the Sword of Sargeras that is now obviously the focal point of the entire saga, with updated dialogue from Dragonflight, and he gives us some information about Sargeras, the Titans, and most importantly, Xal'atath. We get this weapon called Void Song, and we were told that it was given to Xal'atath the Harbinger at the height of the Black Empire on Azeroth, so that she can fulfill her purpose that was not revealed at the time. Keep in mind the name of the weapon, Void Song. Very likely something that would cause the Radiant Song that we're all going to get right now, but a Void type Radiant Song. Remember the old god quote, "Her dreams sing beneath the surface. Our dreams, our song." Now, why this weapon is relevant is because in the actual description of it, it literally says that this was a gift from Dimensius the Void Lord to Xal'atath the Harbinger, which now connects her to him. It confirms that Xal'atath is serving Dimensius and that Dimensius is the one that is after our planet. We learned in the past that there are multiple Void Lords, they don't always really work together, so only one of them could be after us, and it is possible Alleria is working with a different Void Void Lord, not all of them might be bad. Now, why am I talking about Demantius, and how is this really all related to Sargeras or anything? Well, because we have documented evidence of a Void Lord destroyed planet, and how he had destroyed planets in the past, and how he works, and it is pretty much the exact same thing that is happening to Azeroth right now. When you imagine this upcoming Void invasion in Midnight, you're imagining something akin to the Legion invasion, a giant portal, a gigantic army with spaceships coming in, and you're expecting that we're going to get exactly that, just Void-themed Burning Legion. Well, based on what happened to Kalash, that is not the case at all. Instead, Demantius had opened countless portals, Void portals, around the planet, and then started bathing the actual planet with dark energies. Once again, exactly what is happening in the new cinematic to Azeroth with those Void rays all over the world. So, on Kalash, the Titans had constructed magical barriers which stopped these energies for a while, but ultimately it destroyed their forms, which is why they're mummified up to this day. Then, over time, through these energies, Demantius started growing more and more powerful, and he started summoning bigger and bigger armies, and possibly even himself, and ultimately took over the planet. Now, here's the interesting thing. Azeroth is different and very likely stronger than any other planet in the universe. The Void Lords are one of the most powerful beings in the universe, if not the most powerful, but the reason they're not destroying everything in sight all the time is because they cannot manifest themselves outside of the Void realm. So what they do instead is they spread the Void, like with Ethereals they bait the planet into the Void so they can get strong enough to summon themselves. So essentially the idea is to bring the Void to the material plane that they can then use to manifest themselves. With Azeroth, I feel like a similar strategy is currently being used, but it will be focused on the actual World Soul. Xal'atath is very likely working up on setting up these portals, but the main point is to turn the World Soul into the Void so that it can be used as a gigantic power source, and that so Demantius can be summoned here, and he can probably get even stronger than ever before because Azeroth is incredibly potent. And now all it is brings us to Sargeras and how he was 100% aware of this plan, of what was going on, and now we have some really interesting information on why he might have actually stabbed Silithus back at the end of Legion. Now you might know the Burning Legion army that wants to destroy Azeroth, that is constantly has been after us and all the planets, but the reality is that the entire point, like literally the entire point of the Burning Crusade was to stop the Void Lords. We were just kinda always caught in the way. Sargeras as a Titan fought everyone, defeated everyone until he learned that Void Lords exist. He realized that this is such an insidious opponent that literally cannot be defeated in any way, shape or form, and this is what caused the big split with the rest of the Titan Pantheon. Now this little bit here is speculation, but let me just lay out all the info we got from the Alpha and the Beta so you can really decide for yourself. Do you know that crystal Beledar in Hellfall that is now a light crystal of the Arati? Well, we found a mural of very likely the 5th old god in Ashgahed that has the exact same crystal, but instead of being the light one, it is a Void crystal. If this mural is a look into the past, a historical monument, it means in the ancient past, this crystal was a Void power source. Now, the Arati humans told us that the moment Sargeras had stabbed Azeroth with his sword, the crystal had reverted from the light into the Void, which is oddly suspicious, and it must mean that the entire reason Sargeras stabbed Azeroth is because of the crystal. It's not just some random light power source. Sargeras very likely aimed at the crystal. Now, most of the evidence so far speculates that Beledar is a narrow ship. However, we do have chronicle information that says the moment the universe was born from an explosion of the light in the Void, giant shards of light were flung across the cosmos, and from these shards the Na'ar were created, and the ones that stabbed planets were what originated life on those planets. And the elephant in the room, I mean, we're looking at a pretty gigantic light crystal. Keep in mind, this crystal is literally underground, which could indicate that this could be the primordial ancient crystal. However, the entire concept of having these gigantic primordial shards as actual originators of life is really a game changer. It must mean that if these shards can originate life and they can create light, they can also be turned to the Void and do the exact same thing for the Void side, because remember, the light and the Void are the same thing, two sides of the same coin. So my theory is that this is one of the Void corruption mechanisms that Sargeras was very well aware of, and his goal was to stop the Void Lords from spreading, and this is what got him to turn against his fellow Titans. He knew that through characters like Xal'atath and the crazy old gods that can't really be killed, Void Lords cannot really be defeated. They can be temporarily stopped, the crystals can be cleansed, but they will come again and again through the various mediums, even if it's like thousands of years later. The Titans didn't agree that such a drastic measure was necessary to destroy the entire universe, so they came into a conflict. Once again, back to the old hermit from Siltus, he says that the Titans and the Sargeras are not so different, they have the exact same goals, just different means. The Titan idea was to take over the planet, to cleanse the planet, imprison the old gods, purify the light crystal, make all these mechanisms, maybe even imprison the world soul so that no one else can reach it. However, Sargeras probably realized that it was just a band-aid that is bound to eventually break, and it is just a futile attempt. They came to a conflict, Sargeras defeated them all. Fast forward many thousands of years later, the Pantheon returned in Legion and imprisoned him instead, so Sargeras, just before he was imprisoned, got really pissed. His entire stabbing event was one big screw you. He was like, oh yeah, you think your prisons and cleansing is going to help? Well, let me revert that crystal on Azeroth and we will see how you're going to stop the Void now. As we know, the Titans are literally going to come to Azeroth in the last Titan, the finale of this saga. This was confirmed, and they might realize that Sargeras was right and there really is no other way, so they're going to drop this entire conversion charade and they're going to do what they want to do, and that is a little bit of a factory reset of Azeroth. Now the trailer showed us that this process is already in full swing. The Void energies are already over the world soul. Seeing that the next expansion is called Midnight, not the hour before midnight, not the evening, it must mean that Azeroth will reach the midnight hour and it will actually be converted. It will be used as a power source to summon Dimensius the Old Devouring, and there will be no Sargeras or Legion to fight this guy. It will be only us. As far as we know, the Light is also going to get involved, but as Chris Metzen said, things will spiral wildly out of control and then the Titans are going to have to come in. This almost entirely implies that there won't be a final boss and save the day moment for the War Within, but instead we are going to get trapped and we are going to lose, and the victory will only come in the final expansion of the World Soul Saga. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Sargeras was the good guy, we was just misunderstood. He really just saw us as collateral damage, and we had inadvertently helped his arch nemesis Dimensius by just defending ourselves. By defeating the gigantic Burning Legion, we had given the Void Lords free reign and allowed them to, instead of battling the Legion everywhere, focus all their efforts on one true goal, and that is Azeroth. I'm guessing this knowledge of Sargeras as well as Illidan is going to be incredibly relevant by the end of the World Soul Saga, and Sargeras might just be the last Titan when the rest of the Pantheon realizes that they cannot stop the Void Lords when they're in full swing. Thank you for watching. Check out the upcoming Orgrimmar revamp by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on Roman mythology and the Cult of Mithras by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.